Welcome to the commentary booth, where we watch and you guessed it, commentate on the week that was in movies and TV. I'm your host and play-by-play commentator Jamie Apps, and each week I'm joined by a rotating cast of colour commentators to help you find your next viewing treat. This week I'm joined by a very special guest. This person is an instantly recognisable Australian television and film actress and singer. This person was the first Aboriginal actress to win the Australian Film Institute Award for Best Actress in a Leading Role, and has gone on to win 4 more AFI Awards across film and television since then. She is best known for her roles in Rabbit Proof Fence, Bran Nue Dae, The Sapphires, and now the ABC drama series Total Control. Before we throw it over to our interview with Deborah Mailman, let me first take the time to describe the show we're here to discuss today. Total Control is an ABC political drama series which follows Alex Irving, played by Deborah Mailman, an Indigenous woman who gets pulled into the high-stakes world of Australian politics. Season 3, which is about to debut on ABC TV on January 14th at 8:30 p.m, returns 2 years after the explosive events of Season 2, with outsider-turned-kingmaker Alex Irving feeling completely at home in the nation's capital. But what she's about to discover will test her like never before. Can Alex achieve the changes she's been fighting for, or will it cost her everything? Starring 2 titans of the Australian screen, Deborah Mailman, as previously mentioned, and Rachel Griffiths, ABC's prestigious and razor-sharp political drama, Total Control, makes its final return with more power plays, betrayals, and soul-searching from Sunday, January 14th at 8:30 p.m. on ABC TV, or streaming on demand on ABC iView. So, without further ado, let's get to the interview. Today, we're here to chat to our guest about her journey with film, television, and the latest season of her ABC political drama series, Total Control. Welcome to the show, Deborah Mailman.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, good evening. I don't know what time we're meant to be, Jamie, but hi, everyone.
Yeah, the joys of podcasting. Anybody can listen to it at any time.
That's right.
So before we sort of get into Total Control, the commentary booth is all about people's favorite movies and TV shows. So I just wanted to sort of get to know a little bit about your film and TV tastes. What would you say are your favorite shows and movies?
Oh my God. Jamie, that's like choosing a favorite child. Oh my God, like, where do I begin? I don't know where. Like when I was a kid, Astro Boy.
Yep.
That was my favorite. I've got this great sort of, it was, I didn't really have the money to buy it, but I remember I was walking in Sydney one time down Surrey Hills, and I was walking past this sort of record sort of media shop, like old school, and at the front it had a amazing tin box of Astro Boy, like all the episodes.
Oh,
It was
nice.
like money that I didn't have, and so I kept walking past the window, and I'm like, I have to get it. So yeah, somehow I found the money. Probably didn't eat for the next 2 days, but Astro Boy, I think, was was probably one of those shows that really defined a lot of my childhood. Um, and Monkey and all that, the goodies, like that's the sort of era I sort of grew up in. But Astro Boy, I would absolutely race home after school and just, this is like event television where, you couldn't binge or, stream anything. It was just, turn on the television. Um, and I think we only had 2 channels back in Mount Isa where I grew up. So it was the ABC and a mix of commercial television. So the ABC was very much my childhood and a lot of shows from the ABC, but Astro Boy, probably one of them, and Voltron.
Good
What do
choices.
I like now? Yeah, I'm trying to think what I'm watching now. Like, oh God,
Yeah, I think it's probably harder now because there are so many options on
there's
what to
too
watch.
many. Yeah, there's so many. Like, I don't know where to start. Like, that golden age of television where, Breaking Bad and, Sopranos. I mean, Breaking Bad was like one of the best TV shows I watched at the time. Now, there's things like Yellowstone, which I love.
Mhm.
I love a lot of what Taylor Sheridan sort of creates in his shows. Um, but then I love stupid stuff too. Like I love Deadlock. That's such a great Australian show. Um, and then I love reality television.
Okay. Have you watched
Like
the Squid Game reality show yet?
that I haven't, but I haven't even watched the actual show. So I'm probably the only person on earth that actually hasn't watched it. But yeah, no, I'll get there eventually. But I don't know, like, but also I love old school. I like SVU, Law and Order.
Oh, yeah. Yep. They're always good
Like,
ones to just throw on of an evening and kind of wind down.
yeah, but sometimes I need my team. I need Stabler and Benson, and I just need to watch them solve shit.
Yep.
So that's yeah. I don't know. Like I'm random. I don't have one particular. It's very similar to my music choice, actually. Like I don't, I don't really have a genre that I'm absolutely in love with. Yeah, it's all very random and diverse.
No, that's very similar to
Does
me.
it? Does it?
I watch a bit of everything, and I think it's a bit.
Yeah. So
It probably
I
looks a
don't
bit
know if it gives
crazy when you
you.
look at our playlists.
Yeah, I don't know if it gives you much of a picture of who I am, but I do love dagginess. Like I love silliness. I love stupidity. I'll go on YouTube and I'll watch, fails. People who
Mhm.
just fail in life. I love watching animals do stupid stuff. Like I don't know. I like a good laugh sometimes. I
Yeah.
love a good laugh.
And so you mentioned growing up with ABC kind of being one of the main channels that you had at the time. As we sort of shift our focus to Total Control, did that sort of play a part in you wanting to be involved in this production for ABC?
Oh, it was more to do with the fact that this was a Blackfella Films production, and I've worked with a number of productions over the years with Blackfella Films, and ABC literally has become our home for some of these productions. When we look at Redfern Now and Marbo, Total Control, they've all landed on ABC. Um, it was more the story more than anything. Uh, when I was tapped on the shoulder to sort of look at the idea of playing this woman who's, she's a black female politician, and I just went, okay, that that sounds amazing. Rachel Griffiths, it was her baby, and she came to Blackfella Films. Um, so everything just fell into the place in terms of the excitement of the project, and it's the sort of work that I was excited to do. So it's great that we get something like ABC because it allows us to do a show like ABC where you can sort of take those risks in the stories that we tell.
Yep. Yeah, would you so before we get into it a bit further, do you want to sort of give a rundown to our audience about what, in your opinion, the show is and what it's about a bit more broadly?
So Total Control followed the story of Alex Irving. She's dropped into Parliament House as a senator. She's the captain's pick, or as they say, the Prime Minister's pick. So she's very much um, coming from a community where she's been an advocate, but it's a community that's been forgotten about. And so she's been given the opportunity to make a change for her people and for her community. So she takes that opportunity, she's helicoptered into Parliament, and then she understands that she has to play by the rules. And Alex is a person that doesn't really play by the rules. She's incredibly impatient and she wants things to happen um, pretty much straight away. And so she's a politician who struggles with the idea of politics and being in the Parliament House. But over time, she understands the game that she has to play, and by the end of it, she plays it really well. In fact, she plays it better than most people that have been in Parliament House for some time. She pretty much throws a grenade into Parliament House,
Mhm.
figuratively, metaphorically. She just blows it up. She blows the system apart. She's underestimated every step of the way. So, it's about a woman who's uncompromising, who's unapologetic, and who's ready to fight the fight in regards to making a difference in her world.
Okay. And yeah, you mentioned this being about an Indigenous woman. Did that make this role like just speak to you immediately as soon as you read the script?
Absolutely, because it gives it a really unique point of view as a story and as a narrative. Because first, let's look at the scrutiny that female politicians have anyway. Let's add black to that.
Mhm.
A black female politician, and let's throw that up and just see, what those sort of challenges and those stakes are for a character like Alex. It actually is quite an exciting sort of premise to begin with, because then, we haven't really done this or really explored this on television before. So it was quite new as a show, quite new in the premise, and it meant that the writers can really go anywhere and imagine anything in regards to, well, let's look at politics in Australia and let's see like how someone like Alex can actually fit into that, or can't she fit into it? So it was a nice sort of interrogation and exploration of that.
And then I guess particularly too with Alex and one of the other characters, Prime Minister Damien Bower, being also Indigenous, having those characters in such prominent positions in the government too, I think gave this a unique perspective as well.
Yeah, sorry, Jamie, I have to say, so Damien Bower's the opposition, so it's Paul Murphy who
Ah,
actually
yep,
ends up being.
my
No, no,
mistake.
that's okay. I just thought, no, no, it's fine. Just so people don't know, haven't seen the show yet. So Paul Murphy, who's played by the amazing Wayne Blair, Indigenous actor. So in our show, we have Australia's very first Indigenous Prime Minister. So that's becomes one of the first premises of season 1 to season 2. Trying to get black voices heard in Parliament, and also actually be decision makers as well. Powerful decision makers within Parliament. Yeah, absolutely, it was important to me because she reflects she reflects I guess, the issues that are important to us as mob, particularly in communities. Um, the youth social justice service is quite a key storyline throughout the seasons, and for Alex, so that's really, really, really big and important sort of reality that a lot of us mob are faced with. Um, Also, I guess one of the other premises that we were sort of looking at is like, how do we make this sexy? How do you make politics sexy? How do you make a black woman sexy? That was also the other exciting part to putting this all together. It's like, we don't want it to be boring. We don't want it to be just run of the mill sort of another television show. We wanted to add a little bit of spunk to it. And I think, I love that the writers really had that in mind. Let's just, we've only get one chance at this, so let's try and, raise the stakes, and let's make a really interesting character.
And is there a hope that through the representation in the show that it might inspire younger Indigenous people to look at politics as a career path or something that they could get involved in?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually had the really lovely experience of meeting a young fella who told me personally that because of total control, he's now considering a career in politics, which is fantastic. So, I hope there are many of those stories that, that we can tell as a production that, yeah, it's good that a show can inspire people to sort of consider what life choices they want to make.
And then some of the other themes that I picked up on were obviously the racism element and the political infighting, which I love sort of politics. So the political infighting was always something I was really interested in. Social justice, as you mentioned, and environment and climate change looks to be a pretty
Mm.
big topic in particularly the start of season 3. Did I miss any
Yeah,
others?
so no, well, no, it's a really great that you sort of say that in regards to season 3, because season 3 starts pretty much 18 months, 2 years later from season 2. So I think the writers really wanted to actually remind people what's happened in the last few years. Oh, that's right, we had a pandemic, we had bushfires, we had floods. So it's just great to sort of place that into the minds of audience, just going, yeah, a hell of a lot has happened. And so we start with Alex being back in a home sort of area of Queensland, which is a flood zone. It's a crisis. You know, towns are being, you know, some towns are blocked off. There's no supplies getting in. You know, it's a real dire straits sort of situation. So that's sort of where we begin season 3. It really is actually acknowledging what we're seeing in real life. You know, what these sort of lived experiences are, and these sort of what this devastation does to people, particularly out in the country where, you know, those sort of natural disasters are catastrophic.
Yeah, I thought that was a really interesting part of these opening 2 episodes for season 3. It is very timely, very relevant to what's happening around us now. Did that
Mm.
A couple of the things that I really picked up on were, um, a reference to a Hawaiian holiday mid, um, crisis.
Yeah. A
Uh,
nice little cheeky little sort of without naming anything, without actually pointing it out. I think there's a nice little cheeky reference there. Yes.
yep, and then the rise of the so-called teal independence as well. Does
Yeah.
does that sort of come through the script? Like, is that all written into the script, or does that come through some sort of improvisations on the day?
No, no, that's absolutely the writers. You know, the writers sit in a room well before I even get the script. You know, they're there for months on end, weeks on end, months on end, nutting it out and just sort of going, well, let's look at our democracy and let's interrogate that and let's see what are the possible outcomes if we did A, B, C, and D. So Rachel Griffiths, who plays Rachel Anderson in the show, um, this is her baby. This is her idea that she brought to Blackfellow Films. And Rach is such a political junkie. She loves politics, and so she put her brain to this and wanted to sort of explore a show that yes looked at our democratic system, um, and wanted to look at it from a female perspective and from a female politician's point of view, um, and just sort of it's interesting because I think season 2 came out prior to the one of the elections where the Teal independents actually created the balance of power in Parliament. So we had already written that
Mhm.
in the script before that actually happened in real life. So I don't know. I think that's just the brains of the writers and Rach Griffiths and the producers. You know, we again, it's like what's interesting about politics? What can we say? You know, like you were saying, all that sort of backstabbing, the sort of the corridor conversations, the conversations that happen in the back rooms. Like, there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes than what actually people see. And that's sort of the premise of the show is, and then you get someone like Alex, who's a complete novice, come into that establishment and that institution and trying to figure out how she can make a difference in that world. So that's really where we are in all the sort of seasons.
Okay.
And finding these 2 women in particular, how they navigate that sort of world of having to compromise, um, always being constantly scrutinized, always being second guessed, always being underestimated, and just trying to power through all that sort of negativity to get to a point where they actually do have control of their of this situation.
Okay. So then in terms of your portrayal of Alex, I thought you brought a real authenticity to the character as well. How much
Thank
sort of
you.
influence did you have over the formulation of how you presented the character?
Um, oh look, I wasn't in the writers' room, even though you know the door was always open. Season 1, I had the absolute honour and privilege of having Judy Davis, the actor, Judy Davis being my mentor for the first part of it. She helped me sit down with the initial scripts in season 1. I went to her place and we sat down for about a week and we went through everything. And she really helped me sort of start defining who Alex is as a character. And this is well before all the episodes were written. So we were just looking at her as a bit of skin and bones character. And then over time, I was able to flesh that out through the dialogue, through the what the writers were writing. So um, I just sort of went with what they wrote, to be honest, and sort of then tried to make it my own and just sort of trust my process as an actor. Try and find the most interesting sort of choices I could make. Listen to my fellow actors and listen to my directors. So that's sort of what the process is generally when I sort of work.
Okay. And with this sort of being so politically inspired, did you look to any particular politicians for inspiration on how to craft Alex's role?
No, no. I made it was a deliberate choice not to actually look at anyone. I really wanted to create Alex away from any any politician that we know. I wanted to build her from the scratch, from ground up, and just actually build her from the script that was given to me. I didn't look to inspiration. Didn't look to anyone. I just wanted to create Alex in her own silo, in her own private space. I wasn't influenced by anyone, and I didn't want her to sort of be reminiscent of anyone.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense with her coming in as like a total novice in the space as well. You wanted her to have that sort of vibe in the portrayal.
Yeah, and look, I can't speak to how the writers, what their process was, but I certainly, for me, I sort of really kept a really sort of, yeah, a clean, clear sort of world for Alex.
Yeah, like you don't want to be watching politics and like question time and picking up strange mannerisms that somebody that might not be in politics would have.
No, because I think definitely for season one, I didn't want her to be that. I wanted her to be unknown. I wanted her to not know the process. I wanted her to be completely out of her depth and
Uh,
then build her from that.
yep. And then yeah, one of the last points I wanted to speak to was I got to be an extra on episode 1 of season 3, which was amazing for me.
What scene was it? What happened? What?
I
Tell
was
me, Jamie. Tell
I was
me.
in the scene in the grocery store scene with Alex's son Eddie, played by Wesley Patton.
Yeah.
I'm in the background shopping when he has the confrontation with the security guard.
Oh, okay.
So that was
That's episode one. Did you say? Yeah.
yep. So that was really fun. But what it
I was going to ask, how was that experience? It was good.
oh, it was amazing. But what it
Oh,
really did for me
good.
was increase my appreciation for film and TV production in terms of just how much work goes into these shows because that
Mm.
scene, I think in the episode is maybe 2.5 minutes. And
Yep.
that was like 5 or 6 hours of shooting. So it made me realize
Yeah.
how meticulous these productions are and sort of how long have you been involved in this show in the grand scheme of things?
Total control.
Yep.
I mean, like, I'm trying to remember when first season came out. Like, so we film roughly a season. Roughly takes what, about 3 months to film. Thereabouts, and then prior to that, we might get a few weeks of what we call pre-production. So that's sitting down, doing a table read of the scripts, costume, makeup, fittings, and stuff. And then once the cameras roll, where you're looking at around 12 to 13 weeks. And then you get post production. So anything that's missing, you sort of come back and you try and fix anything, particularly with sound.
Mhm.
Um, so all up, one season's about 4 something months. So that's, we did over 3 seasons. That's a long time to be associated with this show. But yeah, I mean, the great thing about that though is we become family because we had the pleasure of a lot of the crew returning as well as the cast. So it becomes a nice family feeling when you sort of have that opportunity to have have so many seasons.
And then sort of how do you find that whole process now after having sort of 20 years of experience under your belt going into these potentially long shoot days and maybe only getting 2 or 3 scenes in a day?
Oh, look, I love it. It's exciting. It's no day is ever the same, which I love about this. The days are long, we could be waking up crack of dawn, like incredibly early to sit in the makeup chair. Um, yeah, it can be a little bit of waiting around. Um, Sometimes the schedule changes in a heartbeat, so you got to, be on your toes around that. But I wouldn't change it for anything. That's what I love about it. It really keeps me on the toes. I get the chance to go to places that I would normally never go to in regards to filming and locations. I get to meet with great people. I get to meet with like-minded people. We get to work in communities where people are excited by having, a film crew there. I get to tell stories that, mean something to me and that I find really important. Um, yeah, and then, sit back and see the result of all that.
Yep. And I understand is this the final season of Total Control as well?
It is. It's the final season. I think there was always a sense, even at the beginning, that was only ever going to be three. So I really love that. That's that's a confidence that the show has landed on. It's like, yep, we're going to do three and three only. And so let's try and do the best three seasons we possibly can. And let's try and figure out what all these characters' journeys are going to look like over those three seasons. So I think it's been great for the writers to know that there's an end, that
Mhm.
there's always going to be an end to it. But it's also going to be bittersweet. Like, I'm going to miss playing Alex. I love her so much. She's my favorite character. She's one of the most, I don't know, she's absolute highlight in terms of roles that I've played. She's sort of set the benchmark for me. And I'm going to miss this show. I'm going to miss her deeply, but at the same time, I'm really proud of what we've created over three seasons, and I hope audiences really, really enjoy this the final season.
Yeah, I think that's a great choice to clearly define, okay, we're going to do 3 seasons and you can actually wrap up the story, because I think like a political drama could very quickly become kind of procedural and lose a lot of the heart and soul.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think procedural's a great sort of way to describe, like, and we don't want that to happen. We don't want Australian drama to be that. We want it to be exciting. We want it to, still be engaging, and yeah, we could take, you know, definitely could be more stories that we could tell, but I just really love that where we've landed, and I think it's really satisfying for the story and for the narrative. Yeah, so fingers crossed. Audience will really enjoy it as well.
Brilliant. Alrighty. Thank you for joining me on the show this week.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. So I'm going to keep an eye out for you, Jamie, when episode one comes out.
yep. So yeah, why don't you sort of go ahead and let our audience know where they can track your creative journey and where they can support the show?
Well, tune into ABC. I think we are premiering Total Control, ABC,
January
January
14th at 8:30.
14th, 8:30 on ABC. But prior to that, you can catch season one and season two on ABC iView of Total Control.
Perfect. Alrighty. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you, Jamie. Lovely to talk to you.
Thank you for listening to the commentary booth. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and YouTube. You can follow me on social media at Jamie Ups Media and at Pario Magazine. And one last time, you can watch Deborah and myself in the premiere of season 3 of Total Control on ABC on January 14th at 8:30 p.m. or on demand by ABC iView. The Commentary Booth is a fan-funded production of Jamie Ups Media. You can support the podcast alongside our magazine, Pario Magazine, on Patreon at patreon.com/Jamie Ups Media. The following people supported at the publisher level or higher, and you cannot fathom how incredibly appreciative we are for their support.